Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we can be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. Welcome to another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zhu and Peebush. How you fellas doing?
Doing well, man. Glad to have Zhu back on the podcast, man. Couple weeks. We were thinking about you, man. We mentioned you every time. We missed you on those fantasy analysis, man.
Yeah, when I was listening to the pod, man, I had my VPN going, listening to the pod. I was like, ooh, RB's wide receiver tight end. Yeah, I was like, man, talking to sleepers. When you guys talking about Garrett Wilson, all these guys, I was like, man, these are the podcasts I missed. Come on now.
Yeah, we focused on a lot of really good comparisons. That was kind of the way we went this year, and I'm
shocked by the Zamir White love, man. That's all I gotta say.
You know what? After more analysis,
Zamir White love, I was like, oh Lord, I didn't know you guys like Zamir that much.
Well, I just think he's a good value pick. I mean, I don't think he's gonna have a great season, but he's a good flex guy to have, maybe as your first or second bench guy if you have RB depth. And man, we talked about this, Zoo. You didn't get to pipe in, but wide receiver is much deeper, as we know. So going top heavy RB might still be the way to go, unless you get one of the stud wide receivers.
I gotta say, give me the Holy Trinity. Give me a Bijan. Give me a Brees the Beast. Give me a CMC still in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I need one of these guys to get 20 fantasy points a week. I need one of these elite running backs, potential like historical running backs. So these wide receivers are cute and stuff. You get some values.
Mm-hmm.
Get some
absolutely love Bijan.
Running backs. There's a cliff. There's a cliff in the running backs.
Huge cliff.
Yeah, I love running back this year, especially with Bijan and his new quote-unquote office. I mean, I know he has a defensive coach, but his offensive coordinator. I think he's going to have some nice design plays for Bijan and Drake. So if you have stock in those guys, you might be in for a great fantasy season. But like I said, we've already done our fantasy stuff. Now, last week we did NFC, and now we will be turning the page to the AFC, which is traditionally, been known as a conference that has a lot of good quarterbacks. So I think a lot of people would probably say that, the AFC East is one of the divisions where, there might be some turnover, might be some new guys trying to maybe insert their way into being on top, or not guys, but teams trying to insert their way on being on top of that division. So, Peebush, what is your trend towards that with that division?
Well, I think we know that the team that's not trending is the Patriots, man. I kind of pair them up there with the Panthers. Just kind of taking baby steps at this point. Maybe they'll, have some growth. We talked about Ramondre Stevenson kind of being one of those cliff RBs. So,
I ain't touched him.
I ain't touched him either, but he could get a lot of – if you're in a full-point PPR league, he could be very interesting. Looking at this, the other three teams, though, man, I actually have the Bills finishing third out of these three here. I am I'm high on Josh Allen as an individual fantasy player. But, man, you got to remember, they lost both of their starting safeties. That's huge on the defensive side. They were very well known for their secondary for years with Tre'Davious White, Poyer, all those guys. Well, they're all gone. And so is Stephon Diggs. Are you putting this entire team on Keon Coleman and a banged-up Curtis Samuel? I mean, so I know Josh Allen's going to get his individually statistics, but he's in a tough division, so I have him finishing third in this one. And then second, I got the Jets, man. Maybe I'm a little high on the Jets once again. They had pretty much bringing back the same exact team. They added Mike Williams. If he can stay healthy, that gives Rodgers a bit more of a deep threat. And Garrett Wilson can kind of play that Devontae Adams type role that we know he loved having in Green Bay. It really the crux is Rodgers' health, right? Kind of like Kirk Cousins, like we talked about last week in Atlanta, coming off the major injury. So, I think obviously if Rodgers gets hurt, I'm putting the Bills in second. But if everything stays the same, I have the Jets coming in at number 2, and that leaves me with the Dolphins, man, who I am pretty high on this year, especially on the offensive side. OBJ was just marked out for the first 4 games, but let's be honest, doesn't matter.
Guy's a Band-Aid.
He's a Band-Aid. Hate to see it, but he's in his 11th, heading into his 11th season. I mean, he's not a young blood anymore. But hey, man, we've talked about Devon Achane plenty. Sean was just saying pre-pod that he's kind of got to prove it on a fantasy basis, but we know what he can do for a football team in real life. And then we got the tandem of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, man. And so once again, it does fall on Tua's shoulders. And I think, he had that he had to go to Kansas City last year in the playoffs, and we all knew how that one was going to turn out. Growing up in Hawaii, playing at Bama, and playing in Miami, I mean, that was just a recipe for disaster. But I do think, look, he's got another year under his belt, another year of him being healthy, another healthy year, I should say, right behind him. So he's coming in pretty clean. And I do think that how they use Mostert and how they use A-Chain is going to be very interesting to watch. Is it going to be kind of a Zeke Pollard like it was down in Dallas there before Pollard kind of took it, tried to take it him for himself, I should say. Can Devon A-Chain do the same thing? And can Waddle, one, stay healthy, and can he actually make a serious impact as a number two, similar to what we've seen T. Higgins do a couple years ago with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase? We need Jalen Waddle to be doing high-level numbers if they want to win games, because this division is going to be brutal. And I do think that I would say more so the Jets and Dolphins, I'm kind of eyeing to finish the division at the top, but I'm leaning towards the Dolphins just because I think they'll be more explosive, whereas the Jets are going to, rely on a bit more just chunk plays and kind of wear you down, as well as having a fantastic defense, which the Dolphins, I'm not as high on the Dolphins defense, even though they did hire the Ravens DC, Anthony Weaver. Mm-hmm. Maybe he can bring in some good philosophies. So just eyeing that for the Dolphins, but I do think their offense is so potent that they'll finish up on top of the AFC East.
Yeah, when I was looking at the AFC East, I was shocked that the Jets are the Vegas favorites to win the division. I'm just like, there's so many question marks about the Jets. I'm like, obviously the injuries concerns with the old 40-year-old quarterback off an Achilles injury.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just like, that number one. I'm like, I loved Aaron Rodgers, who was on the Packers back in the day. Like, I don't even know if this guy's good anymore. Like, it's been so long, because especially with his last season on the Packers, where objectively he was just not good. He was the weak link on the team. Like, Aaron Rodgers not good his last season on the Packers, and coming off an Achilles injury, like, this guy needs a Kevin Durant recovery to be able to come back and be able to play at that elite level still. And they're going to need him to play that elite level, because you got a bunch of young kids on this team. You got a coach that I don't know if Saleh any good. I just don't know if Saleh any good.
He's a good rah-rah guy.
He's in shape. Like, he's one of the most in shape head coaches. But I don't know if he's a good head coach at all, because like, this guy has never really had a quarterback to judge his NFL success. But Aaron Rodgers right now, like, I don't know about him. Obviously, Breece the Beast and Garrett Wilson, these are some young elite studs that I'm excited to watch this year play. But for them to put all together and win this division, like, and Jets historically, I'm going to go on historically too. The Jets historically have just not done well in this division at all. Like, have they ever even won this division? Like
they made the AFC Championship game.
Like Chad Pennington, maybe, but Mark Sanchez, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm like, historically too, I got a little shaky history, and I'm looking at it. I'm picking Josh Allen again. I know what you said with the roster turnover. I know what you said, but Josh Allen is an MVP candidate, so that's automatically a 10-win season. Automatically. You don't think the Bills could win 10 wins this year?
They could, but I think the Dolphins or the Jets could win 11. The Dolphins could win 11 games.
Dolphins got a couple of guys on PUP list, man. Like, the injuries, the offensive line isn't as like, the offensive line's a little shaky. I know McDaniel's a little wizard on there, but like, he uses his speed and he exposes bad teams. And I don't know if their schedule can be as easy as last year when they had the barbecue chicken teams. Like, they cooked them. They won by 50. They beat the bad teams, but against elite competition, they fell off dramatically. So when you play against elite competition, like, the Dolphins got exposed from being like, they thought they were a contender. No, they weren't a contender. They were just really good at beating bad teams. And I'm looking at this roster again. It's like pretty much the same roster. The same roster. Like Chubb coming back from injury. Like I'm looking at this roster. I'm like, what is different from this team from last year's team?
Not much, but the Bills got worse, and the Jets are uncertain.
The Jets. I'm out on the Jets.
Okay.
I think they could win less than 9 wins this year.
Well, they won 7 last year, so I mean, it'd be an improvement.
Yeah, I still don't know how they won 7. They had some miracle games last year that I remember.
Breece Hall.
Yeah, some miracle games last year, some weird punt return games, like some really weird games last year. But yeah, the Jets for me, I'm just like, I am so confused why Vegas likes them so much with all the uncertainty surrounding this roster.
Know something too.
Like they clearly know something, or there's a lot of New York Jets fans betting on them.
True.
That could be too. Like New York, the New York fans and the LA fans, they real passionate about their teams, a little rational confidence. So I feel that there's a lot of that right now, but I'm going to keep going with the Bills until they prove me wrong, because in the past couple of years, they've been dominating this division historically. And even though the roster turnover, yeah, I get it, man. But this is where MVPs are built. These are where MVPs are built. And this is where you carry your franchise right now with especially. And I think Stephon Diggs being gone, it might be a good thing.
It could be a good thing for the
I love Diggs Town, but this guy's the biggest pouty wide receiver I've ever seen. Like, this guy got paid. This guy gets targets. This guy was on an elite offense. He got an elite quarterback. Like, I don't know what he was pouting about all the time.
He hated Buffalo.
He was living in Buffalo. That's why.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be in Buffalo. He wants to be in Houston.
Yeah.
That's probably more of his scene. If I had to say, if I had any skin.
Yeah, I'm just like, Stephon Diggs got everything. It's like sometimes like receivers are pouty because they didn't get paid or something. Like, you want to get that big they get the big contract and got the big targets. Like,
it was the location.
It was the location.
Yeah.
It was the location.
I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I really do think. Because you got to think, before that he was in Minnesota. Like, I mean, I don't think you're doing a lot.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think Houston is, and he's kind of close to his brother. Yeah, he wanted to be down there with let's just say the female talent in warm weather is definitely better in Houston than it is in Buffalo. I will say that.
Sure.
Even though I've never been to Buffalo. I've been to Houston, but I've never been to Buffalo. So, I mean,
I think we can make an educated guess there, Sean.
Yeah, good. You got good odds on that. But I kind of do get Zoo's point with the Jets a little bit, because it's kind of the same thing with, like, even though they're back in the day, they were New Jersey Nets and it's like the New York Knicks, but now they're the Brooklyn Nets and it's the New York Knicks. Like, they're the second team in New York. So you kind of always feel like, I mean, yes, they have talent and yeah, maybe like they could like ascend to be higher, but it just is whenever you're the second team in a location, people just don't always just assume like, you're just never going to be good. You're just not, no matter if you get talent coming, it just eventually you're going to screw it up somehow. And it's kind of like, I heard a lot of Giants fans last year when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, even though it was like a freak injury. It was like, well, of course that happened. It's the Jets. Like, it happened to them because it's the Jets. Like, they're not the Giants. Like, even though the Giants have won their Super Bowls and haven't been great lately, but it's just like, they're the Jets. That's what they do. But for me, I'm leaning more towards the Jets, because I was going, like, last pod, I was just looking at like rosters. They have like a top 5 roster. Their roster's crazy. Like, on defense, they have Hassan Reddick, Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams, Jermaine Johnson, another corner that's like some guy named the second. That's like, I think a lot of teams said he would be like a number 1 corner on most teams. We know about Garrett Wilson. We know about Breece Hall. I do feel like Mike Williams, if he stays healthy, is just going to add a red zone element to where that's going to be a nice jump ball option where get out of Joe free card if he comes back and is super healthy. So I do like that. It's just a change of pace. Alan Lazard is not a bum. He's a nice third option. And
his contract kind of makes him a bum. That contract they got was ridiculous.
You know how he got that, though.
I know.
And I am not high on their offensive coordinator, of course, because we all know that's Aaron. Buddy. So it's like, if you want to come at me with that angle and say, oh, their schemes are going to be not as good, well, I can't argue that, because you're right. But I do think last year with them getting 7 wins speaks to their talent on their team. And more so, I mean, I know Aaron's going to come back and be good, but Breece being like the second year off of that injury, even though he was really good last year, the second year off that injury, I think he's going to be even more explosive. And I just think he's going to add a different element. And to me, when you have all this talent, all you're asking Aaron Rodgers to be is just good. He don't have to be extremely great. The only time he needs to be extremely great is in the playoffs. And he's done it before in the playoffs. So it's like now it's been a long time since he's been to a Super Bowl, but it's just like in terms of getting to the playoffs and maybe making a run, I think he still has that left in his bag. And he will be able to do it because of that team. To your point about the Bills, it's more wait and see. Like, I like Josh Allen. He's a, generational type talent. But when you lose a lot of guys, to me, it seems like they're trying to follow the Patrick Mahomes blueprint of like,
don't need a
Dalton Kincaid is a lesser version of Kelsey, and then you have Keon Coleman as potentially a receiver 1, because if he reaches his potential, I don't think Kansas City has that on their roster, but I think they're trying to reach it as a by committee approach because of Josh Allen's talent. Well, if that's what they're truly trying to do, I have to see it first, because it's, Mahomes is the only one that's been able to kind of get away with that. And 2, what helps having that committee type of approach is Andy Reid on your sideline, because he knows how to scheme with the best of them. Sean McDermott can't. That ain't really his bag.
He's a defensive guy.
Really
he's a defensive coach. He's a good defensive.
So if you told me like there was another offensive genius, like I think Kellen Moore's really good. So if like Kellen Moore all of a sudden was their head coach, I would maybe be a little bit more excited because I think he's a really good offensive coordinator, and he would probably play to Josh Allen's strengths.
They stuck with Bill Burr, man. That's what they do.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, I'm a little higher on the Jets this year because with them getting 7 wins, I love their defense. I think they have probably either top 3, top 2 defenses in the league. They're going to be in a lot of games. And I also think, too, they're going to shift philosophies. Like, Aaron's not going to be throwing 35, 40 times a game. It's going to be a lot of handoff to Brees, dump passes, screen plays. Like, they're going to use Brees a lot. And, 2, they have a back. And, I know we did our running back pod, but, like, as a handcuff, Braylon, now go look at his highlights. Like, I think he's from Wisconsin. He's a nice, big change of pace back. Like, he's not Brees Hall. Don't get it twisted, but he's a nice change of pace back that, if Brees needs to be spelled, he's a guy that can come in there and and do damage. So, I love their GM, Joe Douglas, I think is his name. He's a really good drafter of talent. So, I believe that they got the pieces to win that division. So, that's what I'm going with them. I don't know if you guys got any more comments on the AFC East. We can shift to the North. I'll go ahead and start the North. I was looking at this stat before I start talking about anything, and it just blew my mind. How we always tease about the Steelers being just always 500. Do you know the last time when the Steelers had a losing record?
17 years.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
That's crazy.
So I say that to say, am I picking the Steelers to win the division? No. But this division, I think, out of all the AFC divisions, will be the most tightly contested because the Steelers – regardless of what we've seen in the preseason, because Russell Wilson is looking like a shell of himself, even though they only paid a couple million for him.
Yeah, $1 million.
Looking like he's not
like nothing. It's
kind of looking like he's on his last leg. Justin Fields is not there yet. But what I do know about the Steelers is they just know how to play to whatever quarterback strengths is, and they know how to protect him and make their defense do a lot of the heavy lifting and do whatever they do at running back. And they always draft receivers well. If they can get the ball, George Pickens could be primed to have a big year. And like I said, I'm talking about them a little bit because they're the bottom of the league. But I just feel like it would not shock me if the Steelers are fighting or like second in the division in November. Like it's just what they do. So until I see them have a losing season, it's hard to even just be like, yeah, I'm just dismissing them. So I had to give them that credit. So to me, it really came down like Cleveland. I love, I'm a Deshaun guy, but I kind of want to see him back this year, at least play like maybe 6-7 games to see if he's like going to stay healthy and he's like got some of his magic back. I do like their roster. They got a lot of guys on their roster too. Like it's Deshaun's more so in a Aaron Rodgers position where you don't have to be extremely elite. Like just be good. You got a lot of weapons at receiver. Chubb is out, but their backup running backs are solid. And I don't know when Chubb's come back. He's probably mid-season.
He's missing the first 4 games.
4 at least.
So he'll be probably halfway through the season when he comes back, and who knows how effective he'll be. But they got dudes on defense. They got a lot of guys coming. If you watched them last year, their defense is pretty salty. Yeah, so, like, I know Stroud tore them up in the playoffs, but, like, outside of that, like, their defense is really good. So, if Deshaun could just be half of what he was, they could be competitive. So, it really comes down to the Bengals and Ravens. And I went back and forth with them because, Joe Burrow, for the last 2 years, before, or at least 2 years ago, whenever the Super Bowl was when they went, he was, like, the talk of the town in terms of being, like, the next great quarterback in the NFL. But then I started reading reports on like his wrist, and apparently
it's a weird injury.
It's gonna be like after surgery. This is post surgery. He's gonna have like multiple days of like soreness with his wrist. Whether like say if it's after a Sunday game, like a Tuesday or a Thursday, he's gonna have days where he's probably gonna have to rest it a little bit because it's just the injury was so unique. And this is coming from a doctor. Now, everybody writes reports and talks about like injuries with certain players, and some people use hyperbole and stuff like that. But when I was reading that, I was like, that doesn't sound great. So I'm thinking to myself, like, it's the same thing with Josh. Like, just Josh is the talent, not really injury. But with Joe, it's like, I want to see him at least get through half of the season and he looks completely fine. He probably will be completely fine because they have people on that staff who make 6 figures whose job is to make sure his wrist is ready every Sunday. So I'm pretty sure he'll be fine in that department, but it's still a little concerning. But outside of Joe, I think the team is really talented. So I just kind of by default lean toward the Ravens. I think Likely is going to have a really big year. He kind of had spurts last year where he was like, and I think Mark Andrews was injured, but I think Likely can be used way more than just like a inline, because he's not an inline tight end, but like out wide. And for me, what the thing I've always harped on with the Ravens is they just got a bunch of guys who are like, their best players are like 6 foot, 5'11", 5'10". It's like, get a guy who's a big play receiver, what's wrong with getting a guy who's 6'2", 6'3", especially with all the receivers we have in this league? Why can't they find a guy who's 6'2" to 6'3" who can just go make plays? Why is that so hard for them to find? I don't understand it. So then maybe their counter to me would be like, well, have you watched tape of Isaiah Likely? He's a 6'5" guy who's 255 and then can run pretty well. So him and Mark Andrews, I feel like maybe utilize a little bit better, utilize more. And of course, they got Derrick Henry. I'm expecting Derrick Henry to not have any of the years he had in Tennessee, but the goal line inside the 10 is going to be used effectively. So I do understand that philosophy of what the Ravens are trying to do, and if they can do that, that's going to keep hits off of Lamar. And I like Lamar. He won an MVP last year. I think he's going to be good. I just think with that division, the Ravens, now they did lose, I think, their defensive coordinator.
Yes, the Dolphins.
They lost him. Yeah, they lost him. So that is a concern. But I mean, the Ravens have been good on defense since I've been born. Like I woke up out the womb. They had great defenses. Now at my age, they're just been good on defense. They haven't been slack. So I'm always going to be like, their defense is fine. I think Zay Flowers is going to take a step. So I'm leaning towards the Ravens. But it's close. It's not like none of this is like definitive. It's close.
I was literally reading the same thing about Burrow and his wrist, and I was like, this is genuinely concerning because
it is concerning.
I don't know who their backup is. Is it still Browning?
Yeah,
Jacob Browning, I think, because
so.
To be completely honest, he came in and did okay. I mean, he wasn't great, and I'm not saying that they should be having comfort if Burrow's out and handing the reins to him. But to your point, Sean, you could also point to they have a lot of talent on their roster, right? I really like their rookie Jermaine Burton. I think he's great wide receiver 3. If he has a really good year, you can. I mean, I think we can all say this pretty confidently. But T. Higgins is gone after this year, and it'll only comfort them and give them reassurance if Burton really comes into his own and at least shows some flashes. Because let's be honest, Tyler Boyd was very productive as their wide receiver 3. They throw the ball that much, and that was with Joe Mixon in the backfield. So I'm a little hesitant, but to your point, Sean, I'm actually going to have the Steelers finishing second in this division.
It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. I have the Bengals just and let's be honest, the Browns, I think you said it, Sean, they're literally the Jets. I mean, it's all the crux is their quarterback. Jerry Jeudy, not bad. I mean, maybe he'll have a resurgence. But I love Amari Cooper. He's probably one of the best big play receivers. He's
He's not like 50-yard bombs, man. He has those 50-yard bombs.
Dude, he's Mike Evans light. That's really what he is. He always gets you 1,000. 6 to 8 touchdowns a year. And then we got to kind of see Chubb. But let's be honest, Jerome Ford is not a bum, right? So it's once again, to your point, Sean, it's all on Deshaun. But yeah, I think Russell Wilson. I think he's going to use Freiermuth a lot this year. I think that's going to be kind of his.
Wait, is Russell going to be the starter?
What'd you say?
Is Russell going to be the starter?
I have no idea. But I'm saying, but even Fields. But
that could be a situation.
Okay, but let's be honest. But if Fields plays, we know how much he used, and actually, I thought he was successful with Cole Kmet. That was actually probably before DJ Moore came in there. That was really his guy, and he was a red zone monster. So if they learn to play to whichever quarterback it is, their strengths, they have a great tandem running back. They short up their offensive line. That's where they focus. So that's really good. I mean, we kind of crapped on Najee Harris a little bit in the RB fantasy discussion, but I am very high on Jaylen Warren this year, right? I think he could be explosive in certain ways. And we know what their defense is. To me, it's been the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bears have all had good defenses for like 20 years. And Steelers are one of them, and we know what TJ Watt can do if he can stay healthy. But yeah, it leads me to the Ravens, man. I do have him finishing at the top of the division. Zhu, I'm not pinning this, but Lamar is also an MVP candidate, but at least he has a team around him. So I think that they could easily get 11, 12 wins. Yeah. Derrick Henry, if he does not have like 12 touchdowns this year, I think that's shocking. That'd be a shock.
I'll be shocked.
And I'm very interested to see how Zay Flowers progresses. I think that's going to be huge. You brought up Isaiah Likely. I think Mark Andrews just needs to get back to form, and I trust their offensive line. They've always protected Lamar pretty damn well. That'll really obviously help Derrick Henry. And you already mentioned their defensive side of the ball. So I just think they're the most complete team. And I would actually argue that the Steelers are the second most complete team, but they're missing the biggest piece. So that's why I have them barely edging the Bengals, kind of just based on Joe Burrow and maybe the T. Higgins locker room situation. and their RB room is pretty much the Steelers' quarterback situation.
Yeah. True.
And as you mentioned, this division is just the injury division. Joey B's weird wrist injury. Like I think that is a very serious thing that I think a lot of people, I remember we're analyzing this for fantasy football for quarterbacks, like Joey B, people are still taking him pretty much. They're not really even looking at the injury. I'm fading him completely because of the injury. I'm fading the entire offense because of the injury. Because if I got to see another backup quarterback in this offense again, I'm out on the Bengals. I am completely out on the Bengals. Like Joey B, he saved this franchise. And without Burrow, this franchise is just completely irrelevant. And I love Jamar Chase. He's irrelevant without Joe Burrow throwing him the football. And this is a cheap franchise. They got to pay Jamar Chase. CeeDee Lamb got that bag. Jamar Chase, he probably want to get a similar level, plus or minus like $1 million. Probably a similar level contract with CeeDee Lamb because they're similar caliber of players. So they got to pay their wide receiver one right now because clearly they don't want to pay T. Higgins either. So they don't want to really pay anyone right now. So the Bengals, for me, they are a fade. With the injury, they might come in last. They might come in last in this division with the injury situation because and we're talking about a guy with the record of injuries in Joe Burrow. Burrow, he's just a fragile body. He's a fragile body coming into the season with the injury. I'm out on them. Deshaun Watson, you're a man, Sean. I'm out on him. He's coming in with some shoulder soreness again. I'm like, this dude's he's always sore. I don't know what he's sore from because he didn't even play that much last year. He might need a massage. He probably got banned from massages, and the brother probably actually needs some real massages.
It's all starting to make sense now.
Seriously, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm so what is he sore from? I don't know what he's sore from. Deshaun Watson last year, I had some expectations he's gonna be pretty solid. No, he was awful. He was just completely awful. He was awful. When I watched, I drafted him in one of my leagues. I had to waive him. He was an awful player last year. Oof. And thank God for Jordan Love, man, because that was a waiver pickup that saved me. But Deshaun Watson, I'm completely out on him. The running back situation is kind of weird. I don't know if you saw this. Mr. Foreman got waived. Which is kind of weird because you got Nick Chubb. So, going to be out for the first 4 weeks. You only got Jerome Ford in the backfield, and they got rid of Dante Foreman for some reason.
Who was productive last year?
Yeah, he's good. I remember for the Bears, he cooked a little.
The waiver wire team, man.
He cooked. Yeah, Dante cooked a little. He was a red zone monster. He's very effective in the red zone. I always thought he's been he was in the Panthers with the Bears. He's been very productive every time he got an opportunity to play with injuries in front of him. So it's kind of odd that they're bye-bye. So I guess they probably have some faith that Nick Chubb's going to come back. But Jerome Ford being a 3-down back, that's interesting. Because I feel like there's a pivot in the offense this year that they're going to try to throw the ball a little more this year and be more aggressive in the air. And give it to, last year they relied on David Njoku last year. So that I don't know about that. David Njoku, that dude got he got a bunch of dump offs. It's really rare you see some dump offs for a big this guy's a physical tight end. A bunch of dump offs for Njoku, and it was just him trucking over people. And as you mentioned, Amari Cooper is the deep ball threat. So the Browns. Just because of Myles Garrett, I'm putting them in number 3. So I'm putting them down there. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with the Steelers. The Steelers, it's the most boring team in football. You know exactly what they're going to do every single year. They're the same exact team without Big Ben. They'll never be a real threat. That QB room, that 2 QB room, they got 2 QBs. You got 0 QBs, man. They ain't getting it done from the QB land. And I don't know if it's just preseason, but Justin Fields looks kind of bad.
His hands.
He looks kind of bad. I'm looking, I remember on the Bears last year looking a little better. I don't know if he regressed a little, but maybe it's just preseason, a little overreaction. Everyone's overanalyzing all these games right now because not much football going on. He just didn't look that good. He looked kind of stupid.
He had 2 or 3 highlight plays, and that's about it. Spot plays.
And then Russell, I didn't see anything from Russell.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
That's why I'm who's going to be the starter? It might be Fields, bro.
I think you got to give Fields the opportunity because he's the young guy. He has the more potential, maybe some coaching and development. Because Russell Wilson, I think he's just completely cooked. Russell Wilson, I don't think has much future in daytime television is in the future of Russell Wilson. I'll say that. He's got a talk show loading. He's got a talk show loading.
Michael Strahan on Good Morning America.
Yeah. I would not be shocked if that is what he's doing this time next year. for sure.
Yeah,
and he'll kill that role because that's just
he Hollywood. He got Ciara. Like this dude's a Hollywood guy, so he's built for television. Because like NFL football right now, like you're looking a little bad right now. So that QB room is a little ugly. So they shot 2 darts right now, looking like they went 0 for 2 on both their cheap QB deals right there. So that's just default the Ravens. Like the Ravens in the playoffs, I'm not scared at all. But in the regular season, they bully people.
Mm-hmm.
They bully, but that defense, that offensive line, that rushing attack, and like the Gus Bus last year got, I believe, 12 rushing touchdowns. Like King Henry gonna eat. They're gonna shield Lamar Jackson in the red zone, not have that wear and tear hit his body. Just give it to King Henry to just take all the hits right now. And King Henry, this guy's just a genetic freak. Like we know about the RB Cliff, 30 years old. This guy is just a freaking specimen.
Frank Gore, man.
Dude, he's a genetic outlier. Like you can't compare him to other football players in a league of gladiators. This guy is the biggest gladiator out there in King Henry. So like that brutal rushing attack in the red zone is lethal with Lamar as a potential rushing threat. So I have them dominating division in the regular season, no doubt. 11-12 wins easily.
Yep,
easily for this Ravens roster right now. And like in the playoffs, I'm going to fade them again because. Yeah. I don't know. They just somehow I don't know. They just they don't play their game. They don't play their game in the playoffs.
Cowboys of the AFC.
They kind of do remind me because in the regular season,
Cowboys need to pay Dak. They got some. I know they just paid CD, but they better. The Cowboys are just. They are the Cowboys of the AFC though. For you to answer that question, yeah.
Because like if you look at the regular season, the Cowboys are
destroying
destroying teams. And then go to the playoffs and you lose the Jordan.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if that's the Super Bowl matchup this year? Yeah. That would be hilarious.
Cowboys.
It's like I don't even know who I would like pick in that because it's like I wouldn't wish that on either.
It'll be like the Rams Patriots Super Bowl where there's like no touchdowns until
but
absolutely disgusting.
But yeah, I do think most people that are betting they're probably more than likely picking the Ravens with. I don't know what the odds are for like the Bengals because of their injury history, but you might have really good odds on them. So if Joe Burrow ends up staying healthy, then you could win some real good money on that. So I'm going with the AFC South next. I think, at least for me, it's the Texans division to lose, but I am interested in the Colts because they won 9 games last year without Anthony Richardson. So either their schedule was just really easy, which I didn't go back and look at, or they got more talent than I think I knew about on that team. So if Anthony Richardson is just like okay, because it's like really his first year starting. If he's okay and not like, just not elite or like he's playing like a first year quarterback, then they have a chance because he's so dynamic. But I'm still going with the Texans. They just, DeMeco Ryans being the head coach, the defense is going to be solid. You just never going to have to worry about that defense. Will Anderson's a monster. CJ Stroud got 3 really good receivers, and Dalton Schultz is one of the more underrated tight ends. So they just have options everywhere. So I'm just Texans for me. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I got Texans top of the board too. I also, just to add on to that, the Danielle Hunter addition was really good to be opposite of Will Anderson's because you need 2 solid pass rushers. Yeah. DeMeco Ryans is a defensive head coach.
Derek Stingley, forgot about him.
Yes, Derek Stingley, another great pick. So they have their stud corner and they have 2 good edge rushers. That's really what you need. Then you kind of focus on your linebacking after that. But DeMeco Ryans was a linebacker. He knows how to coach up young guys and how to really get them into shape. So I think their defense is actually going to be pretty underrated. I'm actually, you touched on the Colts. I'll touch on the Jaguars real quick. I am interested to see what they do. I've given Trevor Lawrence a lot of flack because he kind of screwed me in fantasy last year. He was you know what he was last year? He was the value pick that Kyler was in like the 7th, 8th round. That's where Trevor Lawrence was going. And he was kind of the guy, he's got Calvin Ridley, all that. Well, they simplified a bit without Calvin Ridley. I like Christian Kirk. Do I think he's a true number 1? No. But I think that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be very solid for them. And they have probably one of the most athletic tight ends in the league in Evan Ingram. I would argue that him and Njoku and Ferguson are kind of in that same tier, but Evan Ingram is the top of the board of those 3 just because he's much faster, even though Njoku, we did see him get up and going, like you mentioned, Zhu. And then people are no one's talked about Travis Etienne. He had a great year last year. Are you about Tank Bigsby? Sure. Travis Etienne, he's going to eat this year. And, no one's really talked about him when it comes to fantasy RBs. And he's kind of quietly going around that Derrick Henry range in fantasy drafts. So, their defense might have some questions, but they always play hard. They got the other Josh Allen of the league on that team. But I think the crux for them, I really want to see if Brian Thomas Jr. if they can have two true wide receiver twos, I think they'll be dangerous because they also have a true tight end one, plus an RB one. So I have them ahead of the Colts just slightly because Anthony Richardson, man, he's gonna be good.
I don't know about the preseason. I don't know if I'm overreacting. Look kind of bad.
And to your point, I mean,
he looked like a quarterback that hadn't played because it's the same thing. Whoever we were just talking about before, Justin Fields I think had not a little bit. He's definitely had more play experience than Anthony Richardson. Yeah. But Anthony Richardson, I always look at what his first year quarterbacks is like. What is their Caleb Williams, for instance, is like as soon as he got on the court, did he have a complete game? No, but it's like you saw things within the game where he made crazy throws. Where that'll work. And that's what I kind of look at.
Man,
it
was great.
He just needs reps. So that's why it's like I don't want to pick them for the division because I don't need Anthony Richardson to be great. If he's just good, they could win 10, 11 games because they won 9 last year without him. Now, I mean, what is it? Gardner was the quarterback last year.
Mm-hmm. He was solid.
Yeah. So I mean, if he's better than Gardner Minshew, maybe we're sleeping on him, but not going against the Texans.
Yeah. One team I want to mention. I don't know. This might be a sleep, but the Titans are very interesting. Because they have a change of identity right now. You go from a King Henry offense to now, I think they're pivoting to a Will Levis offense now. Because they're going, he got a big arm. That's one thing he showed last year. I don't know if he's any good. One thing he's got a big arm. He's a physical freak and he got a big arm, and they're going for it. They got Tony P, who was a bust last year in fantasy football, but he's still a nice young little cute little running back now. Tajay Spears, they got two kind of similar type pass catching dudes. I'm thinking I thought they were gonna go full rebuild, but they're going for it. They gave Calvin Ridley big money as taking over as a legit wide receiver one. He's getting up there in age now because he's been after that suspension. But you got DeAndre Hopkins who's there, he's still solid. He ain't the old D Hop getting 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns, but he's still DeAndre Hopkins. He's still legit pretty good out there. He lost the juice, but he can still catch the football. So this offense be kind of interesting to see if Will. This is all on Will Levis. I have no idea if he's gonna be any good at all. Out of all these, if you look at all the young quarterbacks in the division, this is a bunch of young quarterbacks that. Obviously everyone on that CJ Stroud train right now thinking he's the second the up and coming. They got him in Vegas odds more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes. That's very interesting. I'm okay. That
actually like that.
That got me thinking. I was like, really? I CJ have more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes. He got a lot of weapons. The fan favorite last year with Tank Dell coming back. Obviously the veteran in Diggs, Nico Collins, who's the breakout guy. This guy's a 6'4", 6'5" dude who showed I'm the alpha of the team. So he got a lot of mouths to feed, and Joe Mixon. I don't think there's gonna be a rushing attack in the red zone. He probably dominate, but it's gonna be an aerial assault. So CJ Stroud's air show right now. If they got CJ Stroud throwing that many passing yards, it's gonna go for MVP then if he hits that many passing yards. So
his odds are not bad.
Yeah, so I do got the Texans winning division, but I got my eyes on the Titans. Just a little sneaky team out there because I'm
maybe bet the over on the wins there, Zoo.
Yeah, maybe because the Jaguars last year kind of burned me last year. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I know Trevor Lawrence had the injuries. I got to give him that. He was injured last year. He was playing through some significant injuries. I know you're rolling your eyes, but I'm telling you that ankle ruined everything. It ruined everything right now. It ruined everything, but it does not excuse the missed throws in the red zones. Watching those Calvin Ridley drops, it was embarrassing last year. They got his kid and Brian Thomas Jr. He that deep threat. Trevor Lawrence chucking it down, and Calvin Ridley was in that position to do that. But I don't think Calvin Ridley is built for those deep. I think he's more of a slot guy. I just think he's more of a slot guy. They brought in Gabe Davis, who he just runs straight. That's all he does. So pretty much they got some guys that could go downfield for Trevor Lawrence to chuck it down deep. So we'll see if Trevor Lawrence has a bounce back season right now. But man, that's last season the Jaguars missing the playoffs. Just one of the more embarrassing things I remember in the past couple of years. So I'm
I will say if you go back to if you go back to college highlights of how Trevor just played with T. Higgins, Brian Thomas Jr. is kind of a similar build.
Mm-hmm.
I think he likes just throw because some quarterbacks are just really good at throwing with. I mean, it sounds like common sense, but it's like the bigger the receiver, it's the easier it's to make like your throws don't have to be as accurate. It is intriguing to see what Trevor like with the receiver like that. Now I know Evan Ingram's a big tight end, but I'm talking about like a receiver type build where he's just on a go route and he can just throw it in position to where he can go get it and like make a tough catch. Trevor, I think, just personally watching him over the years, he looked the best when he was with T at Clemson. Now I know that was college, but just him throwing with the similar type receiver build like that, he prefers guys like that. Because to your point, I mean, Christian Kirk's a small guy. Gabe Davis about 6 foot. Calvin Ridley's probably 6 foot. He didn't really have a big play down the field type receiver, so maybe he does improve a little bit. I mean, hell, he got paid the bag, like he's gonna.
He got paid
like that. So I don't know, but I'm all in on the Texans, and then
easiest
last division. Yeah, AFC West. I wrote down in my notes: Mahomes, Hall of Fame tight end Travis Kelce, and they got Marquise Brown. That's kind of it. The only thing that if you're a Chiefs fan, you're worried about is they lost L'Jarius Sneed. But I will say this. I'm going to be interested just in how Harbaugh with the Chargers, his play style and philosophy and mentality with the team is going to be smash mouth, run first, run heavy type of offense.
Play action,
a lot of that. And you got to go over like what they did in the offseason. Like they got Joe Alt, they got Rashawn Slater coming back. I'm not the biggest fan of J.K. Dobbins. I like Gus Edwards a little bit. And that's kind of just, I mean, in fantasy, he kind of scores some points for me. But I'm not like thinking he's a great back. I just think he had good fantasy games for me. But Ladd McConkey obviously is probably going to end up being a receiver one. But I do think Harbaugh's mentality and, like I said, his play style and play calling ability, he's going to, like, for instance, when they play the Chiefs, it's going to be a lot of physicality, a lot of trash talking. And I think that style, it's going to be interesting to see how that style goes against the teams like the Chiefs because he's ball control.
Yep.
Justin Herbert's not a bum. Like some would say he's in the top 5, top 10, just talent wise, just what he can do on the field. So they got a guy under center. It's not like they got a journeyman under center and it's like, well, he's playing smash mouth football because no, he has a dude under center who, if you let him loose, he could probably get you some 300, 350 yard games with 2-3 touchdowns. I don't think that's going to be their play style, but I'm interested to see, like, when they do play the Chiefs this year, how that style of game goes. Because I don't know if, like, who else would you say in that division has played like that against the Chiefs, where it's just like they have a good quarterback or, borderline, if he's playing on all cylinders, an elite quarterback, but also have that smash mouth type of style. I don't think there's a lot of teams that have done that. And what thing you can say about John Harbaugh is, I mean, this is a guy who had a guy like Colin Kaepernick, had that run scheme, that run type of threat. And I don't think he's going to run Herbert as much, but had that similar type of quarterback where it's like he's a good quarterback and the rest of their team, which is built on good defense. Because, I mean, going back to their defense, I know they've had injuries, but, I mean, Bosa's still there. Max kind of on his last leg, but, like, they still have Asante, they still have Derwin. They still have guys on that defense. So I think their defense can be good. So if they can get it to where, like I always use the score, like 19-11 going into the fourth quarter, like I could see those type of scores against a team like the Chiefs. And I'm not saying I'm going to pick the Chargers for this division. It's going to be the Chiefs. But it's hard to beat or to win anything 3 times in a row, whether you're going to the Super Bowl division. It's just hard. This league is not built for you to do that. You get put down at the bottom of the draft each year. Like, eventually there's going to be, complacency. Not saying Mahomes is going to do it. Not saying Kelsey's going to do it. But do you truly believe that team is just fully like, oh, man, like we want the 3-peat? Mahomes does and Kelsey does because they're playing for legacies. But the rest of the guys, dude, they
want to get paid, man. They want to get paid.
They're winning the division.
Pacheco's still going to run as hard as ever, man. That's all we know. But,
he definitely wants his running back or his contract.
Obviously, I mean, it's the Chiefs' division to lose, right? Hollywood Brown's banged up, right? But I really like Xavier Worthy. They caught a break with Rasheed not getting a suspension, which is huge. Yeah. They actually, you were talking about they kind of rehauled their wide receiver room. Well, it's kind of back now. They have three. If Hollywood Brown can come back and be healthy, they have 3 legit. I would consider them all wide receiver 2s. We got to see what Xavier Worthy can do. But, hey, he's a speedster, and we know what Mahomes loved to do with Tyreek Hill.
Deep threat. He found his deep threat.
He found his deep threat guy instead of having to rely on MVS, man. Those are some rough couple years, but they still got it done. To your point about the Chargers, man, they're kind of my wait and see, of that division. Broncos, Raiders, you could say whatever you want. They're kind of in that rebuilding stage. Rest in peace to a lot of the Raiders players, though, because they do have some solid potential fantasy players, but I just can't buy into them because they just don't have the court. Now, Gardner Minshew, to your point, he made Michael Pittman a pretty viable.
He made Pickle. It was very consistent.
So Devontae Adams with the Gardner Minshew starting job, I think Devontae could get enough, and I do like Brock Bowers a lot. And we do know what Zach Moss and JT did with Gardner under center. Keep an eye on Zamir White.
Alexander Madison.
Yeah. Oh man. all those teams, I would say Chargers could potentially go like a 9-8. Not at best, but I think that would be a solid season for first one with Harbaugh. Raiders and Broncos 7 wins and under. I just think because they got to play the Chiefs twice, they got to play a hard-nosed Chargers team twice, and then they got to play each other. So they're probably going to split that one. Chiefs division to lose, and I'll just say real quick, I got the Chiefs coming out of the AFC, man.
Easily. Easiest bet in sports. I'm telling you. And then you got a little Juju Smith-Schuster coming over just for free.
Yeah.
You got Juju coming over. Juju
signed him.
I saw that. I was like, Juju, he might not have been the guy on the Steelers, but this guy is still a solid wide receiver. You just got to build up that wide receiver room last year because last year it was absolutely a disaster. Bye-bye, Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
Bye-bye. We don't need that. We don't need that foolishness no more. We don't need that foolishness on our wide receiver room. So Kadarius Toney out, Juju in. You mentioned Xavier Worthy as the deep threat. He's showed a lot of promise in preseason. They hyped him up a lot. Like he's a sleeper guy in fantasy football. Xavier Worthy in the later round picks. Like throw a little dirt on a little speedster out there. Maybe he's the future deep threat for Patrick Mahomes out there. But yeah, this offense is back at it again. Like I think they addressed the receiver room and the catching conundrum. I think Mahomes is going to have an MVP caliber season again. Last year he was just not that impressive, and a lot of it was his receivers dropping football. But I don't even think he played his best last year. Like a lot of it, like they pretty much became like Patrick Mahomes being like a game manager kind of. Like it was a lot of Pacheco. Like Pacheco definitely took over the running room. Like Pacheco, a lot of Jerick McKinnon. Like it was a very different like Kansas City offense. Yeah, a little dump to Rashee Rice. Like it was a very different aerial assault compared to usually in the past when it was an air show. Last year it was just ground and pound mostly and defense. It was a very different way of Kansas City getting it done, but they still got it done. But I think this year is going to be more regression to what how they normally play on offense because I think Mahomes just likes playing it more like that for his personal like status. If I want to be MVP caliber again, because last year he clearly wasn't MVP caliber. And as you mentioned, the Chargers, they got a real coach. They got Stanley out there, man. That dude was, I'm sick. I still remember all those press conferences. People asking him questions and him just looking like he was fighting for his life, for his job. Bye-bye. He's out again. like I'm so happy that guy's out of there. You bring a guy in Harbaugh who, this guy just wins. Like he's successful in the NFL. He goes to college. Took him a couple years. Struggled a little in the beginning, but then he freaking gets it done in college football, and then boom, he comes back. You get a guy in Justin Herbert, as you mentioned. Like this ain't no bum quarterback. This guy in his rookie season was, I think, probably one of the best rookie seasons I've ever seen.
I would argue it was up there with Stroud's. I know Stroud had better numbers, but Herbert's was more unexpected because he was not the week one starter.
Yeah. He wasn't even supposed to play. They were doing the sit and wait approach, but then one of the lungs on the quarterbacks got punctured. Someone got fired over that. But like Justin Herbert came in and pretty much looked like a vet straight out the bat. And this guy's big. This guy's strong. He's a tough player. He's coming in with an injury.
His foot. Yeah.
I just always feel like this Chargers team is always injured. With
catch a break, man.
The Mike Williams last year, like that dude's always injured. Now Herbert's coming in injured, and he. As you mentioned, Ladd McConkey's probably his wide receiver one. Like
Josh Palmer,
Josh Palmer. He was kind of a solid like 2 or 3 wide receiver. Like Quentin Johnson was just one of the worst picks in football ever.
Yes.
This was a first round receiver, and usually first round receivers hit pretty fast. And that dude's season last year was one of the worst. And he's still dropping passes. I see him.
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, like he's still dropping passes in like practice. So like I see lowlights of him still on Twitter. So like that offense is gonna be ground and pound. Like the Gus bus is gonna be in full effect. J.K. Dobbins, man, this guy's cursed. Like J.K. Dobbins,
cursed.
like like J.K. Dobbins, I don't know. Like I don't know about it, but who's the third string running back? Like,
Kamani Vidal, the rookie. I like him.
They said there's a little hype around him, so I'm gonna be a low-key third string running back because one of these running backs is gonna hit. I don't know who it is. Like a Gus Bus, we all know his limitations in the passing game. Like he's just a ground and pound guy. So
Harbaugh don't care nothing about that.
Yeah,
Harbaugh's going to run him 35 times a game.
Yeah,
he don't care.
Yeah.
And it could be by committee. If you watch anything, like for instance, when they played Penn State last year, and I guess he got suspended for that game, like. The entire second half, they ran the football. They did not throw one pass in Michigan and won the game against Penn State. And I know it was at the time, assistant head coach assistant, I think it was offensive coordinator at the time, Sharon Moore, who is now the head coach. It was Jim Harbaugh giving him them plays, calling in, and it was just like they literally, with J.J. McCarthy, not a bum, J.J. McCarthy, they ran the ball the entire second half. So, Jim, to your point, that, I mean, I know we did the fantasy stuff, but you might need to just look at whoever's the running backs on the Charger and just like maybe have like keys
Snag
on them
one.
and see just look at them to progress throughout the season because somebody's probably going to hit because Harbaugh is going to to commit to the run. It's just what he's gonna do.
Just grab one of these RB lottery tickets. Like it's like one of them is going to be decent. So like that'll be very very interesting. But then like Broncos. Yeah, Bo Nix, most experienced ever. Like
he hasn't looked awful. He's looked like okay.
I'm making he's gonna have like that rookie year Mac Jones year. He's gonna look real good. I think in his first year, especially with Sean Payton as head coach.
Yeah.
With Sean, that is the most important thing. Sean Payton's gonna make that kid look real. Like I don't know how good he actually is, but in that Sean Payton scheme and pretty much what Sean Payton wants him to do, he got his guy. Like he hyped up this guy. Like I don't know anything about Bo Nix, but they want.
He's old as hell.
He old as hell. Like. But that means he better come in and be ready. He beat Zach Wilson in QB training camp, so that doesn't really say much. But Bo Nix got the job, and we'll see how good he. Like they call him Drew Brees 2.0. I'm like, man, stop it. Let's not compare this guy to.
Let's relax.
Let's relax. I know Sean Payton's the head coach, but that's the only relationship him and Drew Brees have in common. So let's see if this kid gets a shot. But Broncos, boring team. Raiders. An atrocity. They had a rebellion last year to get a new head coach, and he's back at it. Devontae Adams, what a waste! Just
Max
what a
Crosby.
waste, man. Yeah, like they got some nice players, as you mentioned. They got.
I
some
like
nice
their corner
players.
too.
They got some
Jack
talent.
Jones, I think. He's that
They
one-headed
have talent.
interception.
They just don't have like systemic camaraderie. That's really their biggest issue. They don't have a system.
Yeah,
really,
like I would be more hype about them. I think whenever the draft Anthony Richardson came out in, and I think they had a chance to maybe trade up. I just wish they did that. Like just trying to go into the season with like
young quarterbacks.
It's just you're not serious. Like what? Like I mean, Gardner Minshew is going to get you
Sean,
6 to 8 wins, maybe.
I think I told you this, but they also had a trade out there for C.J. Stroud, and Josh McDaniels overrode it for the second pick in the draft. And he said, "No, Jimmy G's my guy."
Let me tell you something. Hey, people who are GMs, presidents who have control over who they hire as head coaches, stop going to the Patriots tree. None of them are good outside of Bill. They're not. None of them. None of them are any good.
And based on personnel,
Vrabel. That's it.
Yeah, I would say based on personnel decisions, Bill Belichick wasn't that good either on personnel decisions. Like he was an elite coach, but some of his drafting, like his wide receiver drafting history, not the best. Not the best. Like. I got
any skill position, to be honest.
I'm telling you, tell these coaches, these coaches got to stay in their lanes, man. Like coaches coach and GMs GM. GMs pick players. There's a reason they're separate jobs. It's a different skill set. So you missed out on CJ Stroud.
I made my Super Bowl out of the AFC. I'm guessing Zoo.
No, I already got a futures bet placed in. I already got multiple futures bets placed, man. So it's easy.
I kind of figured. I just figured you guys were gonna go Chiefs, so I was like, let me just be different, and I wanted to go with I was gonna do the AFC Championship matchup, and I don't know, I don't know. I'm in South Carolina, and I don't know if I could do these type of bets, but like, I wonder what money I could get on Houston and the Jets in the AFC Championship game. Like I think I can get really good.
Oh my lord, the Jets!
I think I can get awesome odds on that.
Let's break this down. Let's be honest. The Texans have a solid defense. They could be the only team that truly keeps up with the Chiefs in a playoff game offensively.
Because whose defense would you rather have? You'd rather have the Texans. I think L'Jarius Sneed leaving is people just be like, it don't matter.
I'd say it's a toss up, but I'll take
because their corners, like Texans corners, I want their corners. You just talked about their DNs, now Chris Jones is different. He's different,
especially in the playoffs.
Category in his own.
The playoffs.
Yeah, he's a category on his own.
He's the best defensive player on those two teams.
Yeah, he might be like the third best player on just both rosters. Like, I mean, Mahomes, Stroud, and then, I mean, I guess Kelsey you would want, but I mean, Chris Jones is up there.
They paid him and not Sneed for a reason.
Yeah,
but then it's like, what if the Texans? My reason is, what if like the Texans really, and we just kind of talked about Stephon and him like being unhappy with Josh, but I really do think it's location. So like, if he comes in and actually is like how DeAndre Hopkins towards the end of his years, he still was an elite receiver, but he's not like a cancer in the locker room. Like if Diggs can be that guy where he's an elite receiver, not elite receiver, but like a really, really good receiver. And he has moments where he's, teaching Nico and teaching Tank, and it raises their game up. And like I said, I love Dalton Schultz. What if like that offense is just clicking? Now the sophomore slump with CJ could be a real thing, but it just seems like it's going to be hard to envision him having that because of all the talent. He would have to really just go off a cliff to not have at least a pretty good sophomore campaign. So then on the other side, I'm thinking like, I'm taking probably the Jets defense over most defenses in the AFC. I just am. They're stacked. So now it is risky to be hitching your wagon to Aaron Rodgers. But like I said, he don't have to be Green Bay 2011 Aaron Rodgers. He just has to be good. You have Brees, you have Garrett, you have, I don't know, we just talking about Lazard, but you have Mike Williams. Like, I'm not sure who their tight end is, but they have weapons. Like
Conklin.
I just think like if I wanted to throw money around, like, and also too, I wouldn't be shocked if that was the AFC Championship game because I love the Chiefs and it's common sense to pick them, but like, come on, man, like it's hard.
They live there. They live there. Ever since Patrick Mahomes became a starting quarterback, he just lives.
I know. They're just always in the AFC Championship game.
You might lose there again, AFC, but like I can't bet against them at least making.
It is dangerous to do that. Like if they play the Ravens, and you got me because it's like they like.
That's the easiest bet in sports. I'm having that game one easy.
Yeah,
like if
they get
their number.
I don't know. Name another AFC team we were talking about. Like if somehow they got the Steelers or like I don't know the Bengals. Like okay, then you got me because I think they're gonna beat them. But like I don't know. I think CJ like kind of I mean if you watch that game against the Ravens last year, CJ didn't play like he was shook. Like he had moments where he wasn't great, but like he played like he was composed on the road. So it was like I don't think he would be intimidated by Arrowhead. So I don't know. I just think there's a higher ceiling, I think, for those two teams to maybe meet in the playoffs. And I'm strictly really going off this is not disparaging the Chiefs. I just think in this league, it is not built to you to just keep going. I know Mahomes is beating that trend, but it's like eventually the football guys are gonna be like, all right, guys, you might have to take a year off. And then you'll be back next year. But this year, you might have to take a year off. Like it's just it's a lot.
Wait, Sean, so you were Lions, right, in the NFC?
Yeah, Lions and
I was Lions as well.
Eagles, but it was Lions.
So are you nominating?
I probably would have. I don't know. I want to pick. I want to lean Texans, but I'm probably just gonna say Jets because it's just like I don't think Aaron would lose to CJ in the AFC Championship game. I just don't.
So you have Jets, Lions. I got Chiefs, Lions. Zoo. I know you weren't on NFC.
NFC. NFC is interesting.
Just make a quick pick, Zoo.
Yeah, I'm like Chicago Bears. Man, I can't do it. I can't
get
pick the Bears.
Get out of here. You would do that to Jinx Peebush.
No. I want them, man. I got them with the over. I'm all in. Caleb with over, Bears over. But they kind of interesting. I got them as a playoff team. So I'm looking at them, the Green Bay Packers. I know a lot of people are excited about Green Bay. I don't know. I got to see one more season of Jordan Love before buying in to Jordan Love as a great quarterback. Because
1,400 on FanDuel to be MVP for Jordan Love, by the way.
Oh, really? Stop it. Jordan Love ain't getting Man, please. Please stop it. NFC South teams, nah, I'm good. None of those teams are interesting. The NFC West, you got the Niners again. The Rams. Ooh. Philadelphia Eagles? I don't know. The way they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. Dallas Cowboys? My God, NFC is not that good. I'm looking at the NFC. I'm not impressed
You
with
mean
the
the
NFC.
Bears?
Oh, man. Can I pick the Bears? Nah, I can't pick the Niners again. I could see them again.
Me and Peebush was like, this is their last year, though. If they don't get it,
it is their last year because they're running out of time. Brandon Ayuk, this contract, McCaffrey's 28 years old. That is the RB cliff. When you hit that 28, 29, 30, it's like CMC is a beast, but nobody's built like Cardinal. Nah. Ooh, Detroit Lions. Nah, Detroit's cursed. I can't go with them. Wow. 49ers. I'm going with a repeat, man. The NFC is just not that good.
No, yeah, we
I like a lot of average teams.
Yeah, like Cowboys are always good, but no one. I ain't picking the Cowboys to win.
No.
Like the Philadelphia Eagles, kind of interesting. They try to
their coaches
revitalize the Sirianni thing last year. I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened last year because I believe they were 10-0. I believe.
Well, they got Kellen Moore this year. That's why I'm a little higher on them because I love him as an OC. So
yeah, they brought a new head coach, trying to spice things up, bring Saquon Barkley, trying to cook up the offense a little differently. So they kind of a little more interesting this year. But
you got Chiefs Niners.
That is hard though.
There's no way that's happening again.
I'm picking the Eagles, man. I'm putting the Eagles in. Dude, I'm like, because the Super Bowl hangover is a real thing too.
Yeah.
And I think Brock Purdy, he played great last year.
Here you go, Sean.
I'm out on Brock Purdy.
There it is.
I'm out on Brock Purdy. Like
Sean and I were talking about that.
Really? Cute story, man. Like Brock Purdy's a cute story.
And they're gonna pay the fuck out of him too, which is insane.
Are they?
I cannot wait for that.
Are they?
I think they are.
Are they?
They got Josh Dobbs. I know people are hyping that up, but
they still got
they're not paying Josh Dobbs.
They still got to pay the Trent Williams.
Yep.
And I think he's probably maybe their most valuable player because when they were without him, they were kind of awful without the left tackle.
Hall of Famer.
So you got to pay that guy first over anyone. Like Ayuk, whatever. Like Ayuk, he's a nice player, but I think the left tackle is more important.
I'm still surprised he's still with them.
So all right, I got the Chiefs over the Lions in the Super Bowl.
The Lions. Their
over their roster.
Their offensive line is ridiculous.
And their
weapons, they make Jared Goff look crazy. Like Jared Goff
weapons in their pass rush. Oof.
Yeah,
they got everything. Like they don't. I was telling people what is their weak spot? Like they got corners. Like
I think their only weak spot is I don't think anyone believed Jared Goff's that good. Like he's in that.
Which I don't understand because
he's like a system.
He shouldn't have made the Super Bowl last year. Like they were controlling that game against the 49ers, and they just crapped the bed. But I think he's good enough to get you now winning a Super Bowl. I don't know about that, but he's good enough to at least I think get you in the conversation there.
Yeah, because Lions in a dome, offensive line is ridiculous. Like no one's he just got all day to throw, and he got everyone to throw to. He got the bruising running back in Montgomery. You got the pass catching back in Jameer Gibbs. You got Amon-Ra, the slot guy. You got this Jameson Williams speedster.
He's gonna have a bad year. I'm not in on Jameson Williams. That's their biggest issue. They don't have a second wide receiver.
He's a wild card.
And they're rookie corners. They could have a good year, but they got to learn the game a little bit.
Yeah. Lions are loaded. They got a lot of weapons.
I think we all could agree that the AFC, at least probably for the last 5 to 10 years, quarterback-wise, has made this conference to where it's a little bit tougher with discussions in terms of who could actually win because you just never know with, like you say, for instance, like a Deshaun or Dak's been good in the regular season, but whoever Deshaun and I don't know, name another quarterback. That's Aaron Rodgers. Just if they play to their potential, then there's a real possibility with both of those defenses that they could be in a AFC Division or AFC Championship game because that means they're able to just play good enough to get them there. There is more variance with the quarterbacks in the AFC, and it kind of feels like with the NFC, it's you have a lot of guys who are solid, but it's like a Jared Goff, which it says something about the NFC where me and people, both picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl, and it's they have Jared Goff as their quarterback, but it speaks to just the team. So I think we all kind of, like I said, with the whole league, NFL as a whole, is built for everybody to go 8-8. What separates you is the quarterback. And if you have a quarterback that's a dude, that's going to get you to the 10, 11 win tier. And then once you get into the playoffs, all bets are off. If you got a quarterback more than likely like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen or Lamar, whoever, you're going to be able to make maybe some headway to get to potentially a Super Bowl. So, like I said, we'll see. NFL is here. We've gone through the preseason. I see they're making cuts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super excited. I feel like this year more than any other year, it's going to be a lot of mystery. I know everybody's going to be in on the Chiefs, but I don't know, man. We got to see. We just got to see. And I'm excited to see the newer quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, all those guys. I'm so excited to see how they do their first couple starts.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to see it. Fantasy and just watching as a fan. So, yeah. Make sure you guys tune into us on YouTube, Quantro Knows, posting a bunch of content like this pod we're doing right now. Instagram, Tyson Tar is going to be posting way more clips because, like I said, NFL season has started. College football started last week. College football starting this week. Make sure you're tuned into our TikTok, same as Tyson Talks. We're on Apple, Spotify. Make sure you give us a 5-star review so we can get in the algorithms. And for me, Zhu, and P. Bush, we are out.